Now, this year, the Institute of Marine Affairs will be celebrating its 45th anniversary. IMA was established with a mandate to collect, analyze, and disseminate information relating to the economic, technological, environmental, social, and legal developments in the marine affairs, and to formulate and implement specific programs and projects. We're going to be speaking with Dr. Rahanna Juman, who is the acting director of the Institute of Marine Affairs. Dr. Juman holds a PhD in zoology from the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine, and a Bachelor of Law from the University of London. Dr. Juman has been conducting research on coastal wetlands, including seagrass beds, for the past 26 years, and has been published and has authored 2 books on coastal wetlands. So, of course, you know that we are in good hands. Dr. Juman, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Well, first of all, congratulations to you and, of course, to the Institute to making it to that 45-year milestone. What do you consider as some of the major achievements for the institution?
We've had a lot over the years. I mean, when IMA was set up, it was basically to fill a data gap and collect information on our marine and coastal environment, which is very, very critical for our own national development and so forth. And over the years, we have developed a number of programs. We have done some of the first ecological assessments that was ever done on our coral reefs, our mangrove forests, on our coastline. We've provided information that has been used to inform a lot of the environmental policies and plans. We have also developed management plans for marine protected areas such as the Buku Reef, the Nariva Swamp, and more recently we were very much behind the development of an integrated coastal zone management policy for Trinidad and Tobago, again to help us in terms of the sustainable development of our marine resources, but also to adapt to the impacts of climate change.
Yes.
And just last month, actually, we received ISO accreditation for our labs, environmental quality labs, and it's for the scope of nitrates and nitrates and nitrites, which are nutrients. And basically, it says that we have reached international standards in terms of our management system and the accuracy of our information and so forth.
Nice.
So we've had a lot. And then I think what I always think about is all the many people that have passed through the Institute. The IMA has been a training ground over the years for many folks who have gone on to much larger, lucrative positions, both at the universities in Trinidad and Tobago, as well as international and international organizations and so forth, banks, UN, you know. So it provides that home for young scientists to come and really do things that they love to do.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Juman, one of the things I'm hearing is that the Institute is very, very heavily involved in projects and monitoring the coastline. What are some of the impacts that we've seen thus far as it relates to some of the reports that would come from these projects?
So one of the oldest monitoring program we have is our coastal monitoring in terms of looking at our beaches, our beach monitoring, looking at erosion and accretion. And we've been monitoring that for over 20 to almost 30 years. And we know how the coastline is changing, what areas have been eroding, what areas have been accreting. We've been actually measuring more erosion than accretion. And one of the things we're picking up now is accelerated coastal erosion in some areas, some of it due to, construction along the coastline, but a lot of it due to impacts from climate change, storm surges and so forth, coastal flooding. Just last week, we've had situations with Maracas, Pigeon Point, Manzanilla, with the rough seas, and the impact that has on our coast. And my guys are actually out doing the monitoring to look at what has happened most recently.
Now, you keep mentioning 2 words, erosion and excretion.
Accretion.
What is the difference between the 2?
Erosion is when you lose sand from the beach, and it's on a long-term basis. Accretion is when it's the opposite of erosion, in that you have accretion, you have buildup of sand on the beach. So with erosion, your coastline recedes.
Right.
With accretion, it basically
fills and goes back.
expands. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what sort of, if we look, for example, at that Mansan stretch that actually collapsed, what sort of impact or effect, or is it going to have an impact and effect on that coastline? And as we look at our roads and the things that's happening, what sort of impact is that going to have?
So where the Manzanilla Road is built is on the East Coast, which is a high energy area. So you always have issues with erosion from the seaward side, and we have actually estimated erosion along that coastline, and that's why the Coastal Protection Unit is actually putting up coastal defense mechanisms. And then on the other side of it, you have the Nariva Swamp Wetland, which is our largest, most diverse wetland. And with, extreme weather events and such as rainfall, heavy rainfall, you have the water running off from the wetland and causing impacts as well on the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Now, one of my major concerns is the Nariva Swamp, being a wetlands ecologist, because the swamp, being a freshwater swamp, is there because you have these sand barriers. And what you have is the cocal, which is a sand barrier that actually prevents the sea from going in too much. So that's why you have this freshwater system. However, the cocal is eroding. So it's going to become challenging in that we're going to probably have that wetland transition from being primarily a freshwater maybe to more estuarine saline. But with the loss of freshwater ecosystems, of course, you lose your freshwater biodiversity.
Yes.
So those are some of the concerns we have to address in terms of adapting to the impacts of climate change.
Dr. Juman, is there a solution where everyone wins? Is there a solution where we can protect the wetlands, where we can have that road, and where we can also have the beautiful beach as well?
Yes, but it takes everybody. Everybody has to come on board, and that's the whole purpose of integrated coastal zone management, getting all stakeholders on board for us to make a cohesive, comprehensive decision as to how we use our coast and what we use it for and how we protect our ecosystems, because those ecosystems, of course, will provide us with services that are important for our existence and for our livelihoods. So we have to find a way to conserve these ecosystems so we could conserve the services they provide to us, but also we have to live and we have to be able to earn a living. So it's creating that balance between how we use our environment and how we conserve aspects of it.
Yeah. And Dr. Juman, very quickly, because this is very, very interesting to me, very quickly, what are some of the services that biodiversity can supply to us?
So I'll just give you examples of our coastal wetland, our mangrove forests and so forth. It provides coastal protection against storm surges and so forth. It acts as well as a carbon sink. More and more we're learning that these blue carbon ecosystems, or these marine ecosystem, sequester or absorb a lot of the carbon dioxide that is responsible for climate change. Their habitats, they provide nursery for juvenile fish and shellfish that we feed on, that have commercial values, and they provide organisms that have pharmaceutical values. They provide the natural infrastructure for our tourism. People go to dive on our reefs. So numerous ecosystem services they provide to us.
Now, tell us about some of the projects that the Institute work on, because I think you were talking about one that's been in existence for over 30 years. Yeah. I was reading up about as well the Carib Coast project, so tell us about some of those projects.
So we have our ongoing national conservation program where we monitor our coastlines. So we monitor our beaches, coral reefs, our mangrove forests, our seagrass beds, and so forth. We monitor water quality. In addition to that, we're engaged in some projects, regional projects. One is the Carib Coast, which was looking at a regional project looking at, again, coastal erosion and the impacts of climate change, and trying to develop hydrodynamic models that can help us predict what will happen in the future based on forecasted sea level rise and so forth. And then there's another one we're working with the Association of Caribbean States. Again, this is the Sandy Shoreline Project, where the intent is to develop a monitoring program throughout the region so that we collect the same data the same way and we can do comparisons. And also, too, in terms of beach rehabilitation, a strategy to rehabilitate beaches that have been eroded. So those are some of the ongoing projects. And
as we look forward to 2023, we're in the new year already.
So we have a lot of exciting stuff happening. Yeah. Now, I'll tell you, first, to commemorate our 25th anniversary.
45th?
Sorry, my 45th anniversary. To commemorate that, we have a number of events planned. One is through funding from the Republic Bank Limited. We're publishing an anthology of articles, newspaper articles that we would have published over the 45 years of the existence of IMA. So that would be a publication. We would have our long service award, and we have some staff events planned. But in addition to that, we have started community symposia. So 2016, we've had that. And, well, of course, 2020, 2021, we couldn't have any. 2022, this year, we had one in Caroni. And we're planning to have 2 this year, one in Tobago and one in Trinidad. We're currently also constructing a field station in Tobago at Pigeon Point. So we're expanding in terms of our, expanding our reach.
Yes.
And we're doing a lot of exciting work in Tobago in terms of doing work on coral reef and seagrass restoration. And we're starting with Green Fund money. We're starting a fish to develop a lionfish fish pot fisheries in Tobago to help us address the invasion of the lionfish, which is an invasive species. So these are some of the things that we're going. One of the big achievements, too, that I forgot to mention is IMA is also the Regional Activity Center for the Land-Based Sources of Pollution Protocol under the Cartagena Convention. So we have a leadership role in terms of helping the region address impacts from land-based sources of pollution. So we have worked there where we've been helped in developing a regional nutrient management strategy, because some of the major impacts on our coastal ecosystem is pollution from land-based sources.
Now, Dr. Juman, as we look forward to 45 years and beyond, where do you see the institution going? What sort of other projects you think would be interesting for us here in TNT?
Well, in Trinidad, we have to look at our current situation and things that we need to do. We need to prioritize. We have degraded ecosystems that we need to rehabilitate. We also have to look at livelihoods and how these are being impacted by climate change. And we talk about developing a sustainable blue economy. We have more ocean space than land space under our jurisdiction. And if we want to exploit our oceans, we have to do it in a sustainable manner. So we want to assist in terms of looking at a sustainable blue economy and how we can utilize our marine resources in a a sustainable way. One of the other things that we're doing is we've actually just set up our mariculture facility to do growing marine species, again, to take the pressure out of because our natural fish stocks are depleted or overexploited. So looking at alternatives, so growing fish in cages and in mariculture and other saltwater species. And again, that's to help as well with food security. So those are some of the areas that we're
looking to go into the future.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Juman, I know that the IMA, of course, is funded by the government, but do you also encourage, let's say, investors, in particular, if you want to do a certain project that may not necessarily be covered by the subvention that you're getting?
Yeah, so actually, we've had to basically the last couple of years, because we've received, because of the economic situation and so on, our subvention has been cut. So we have actually been looking outside for grant funding and for public-private partnerships, working with our private sector, because they benefit as well from the environment. So linking up a lot with private sector for funded projects and so forth. Yeah. So that is something that is actively pursued. And international agency, the Green Climate Fund, the JEF, Global Environmental Fund, and all those.
Nice. Well, Dr. Juman, thank you so much for coming and just giving us a taste of what you have for your 45th anniversary. Again, congratulations to the Institute and everybody who is there, and continue doing the work that you're doing to protect our coastline and, of course, our marine life. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And that was Dr. Juman. Of course, she is the acting director at the Institute of Marine Affairs, just giving us some updates on their 45th, actually, anniversary. Stay with us, because up next we are celebrating 60 years for Panorama. You do not want to miss that one. Stay with us.